Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Gagnon Atelier. I'm your old pal, Tim Gagnon, and this is the Modern Masters Podcast. Well, welcome to the show, everybody. We are broadcasting live from Gulf Coast State College today. I'm very excited. Welcome to our Educational Encore program. And today on the Modern Masters Podcast, we have got a fantastic show for you today. I'm geeking out really bad because today is been a long time coming. I have got a paleo artist to come and talk to us. Now, if you don't know what a paleo artist is, that is an artist that draws extinct animals like dinosaurs, and they work with paleontologists, and they try to figure out what these animals that have been discovered, these fossils that have been discovered, what do these animals actually may have looked like based on the latest scientific knowledge. And so we're going to be talking to her here coming up really soon. Her name is Emily Willoughby, and so I'm going to be bringing her on here really soon. But before we do that, if you guys could do me a favor and go ahead and like our broadcast and this page. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on my phone right here, and I am going to hit the share button. Let's see if I can do that. I'm pretty good at this stuff. Actually, I'm terrible at this stuff, but you know, we're going to try it. We're going to try it, and I'm going to find it, and I'm going to go like this on my phone, and I'm going to see it. And let's see, I'm scrolling. There it is right there. And I'm going to hit the share button. Boom. Just like that. And that's it. I have shared it. I don't want to brag or nothing, but I just shared it. So guys, if you could do that for us, if you could share our page, that would be great. If you could like this broadcast, also go over to our YouTube channel. If you're interested in watching all of our other Modern Masters podcast episodes, you can do that as well. And so, yeah, if you could do that. Now we also have, if you like that, did you guys see those really cool videos that I have? Those little beginning Gagnon Atelier logo, all fancy schmancy and everything else. Well, that was done by our friends over at edgedigital.agency. Edge Digital Agency, and they did some great work for us. So I'm going to show you their commercial that they made for us, and they've got a great offer for you. And so let's take a look at that right now.
Hey guys, this is Judah with Edge Digital Agency. We want to offer something special to the friends and family of Gagnon Atelier, our digital diagnostic. In this free consultation, we equip you with the tools and strategies you need to maximize your online impact. For example, your website needs to wow customers and serve them well, but it also needs to rank high on search engines like Google, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Visit us today at edgedigital.agency, and when you reach out, make sure to mention that you saw us on one of Tim's videos. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to hearing from you.
All right, everybody. Well, welcome back. So check them out, edgedigital.agency. If you have any internet needs or any marketing needs, they can help you out. They do a great job for me. They'll do a great job for you. I promise you that. All right. Well, without further ado, let's bring on our guest. I'm very excited to bring on. There she is, Emily Willoughby. Thank you for coming on the show. Round of applause. Look at that.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Great. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and, where you're from and what brought you to start an art career.
Well, I'm from North Carolina originally. I'm living in Minneapolis now. I've been interested in dinosaurs pretty much my whole life. And, every kid goes through a phase where they're obsessed with dinosaurs and then they kind of lose interest. But in I guess the early 2000s, I got reinterested in dinosaurs because of all of these new feathered fossils that started getting covered in magazines and stuff. Many of which came from out of northern China, showing like feather imprints and stuff on exquisitely preserved fossils. And I thought, wow, these are so cool and amazing. And dinosaurs were feathered, and a lot of them probably looked like birds. or at least somewhat like birds. And I really got into drawing them because I love birds, and it was just kind of like the perfect combination of coolness, and kind of took off from there.
Nice. So was it a particular article that you saw? Was it a particular, maybe a documentary? What was it what was that one thing that hooked you again?
I think, I don't remember the news source, but the fossil that got me reinterested was a new juvenile specimen of Cerakarthus, which is a small, feathery dromaeosaur dinosaur. So, a raptor, but a little guy, just like, a tiny little turkey-sized guy. But this fossil was so cool. It has his little arms splayed out like this on the slab, and it's got these just beautiful filaments, obvious feather filaments coming off of the arms. And I just thought it was just so exquisite and just beautiful. It's really cool little creature. Yeah.
Right, that'll definitely do it. It's amazing. I'm in my almost 50s, and I'm this close. It's, I'm pushing it off as much as I can. But, it's, I've been a dinosaur fanatic since I was a little tiny boy. And I've got a treat for all the viewers out there. You're going to see a picture of me drawing dinosaurs at 2 years old coming up. So, and the hair, the glorious hair that you're going to see. Yeah. So it's, in my hair, it's a big deal to talk about how great my hair was. But looking back at all my old dinosaur books, which I do way too often, is that how much this particular paleo art has changed with the science has changed, and how much we just didn't know, and that now we know, and paleontology and the different the scientific methods that we use now, the technology that's used by paleontologists now. I mean, they're doing MRIs and CAT scans on fossils now, among many other things. And so it's dramatic, the difference that paleo art has taken. The way we used to draw dinosaurs, a lot of people joke as a weird example, when the Godzilla movies first came out, we really thought that's how they walked. That's how we thought dinosaurs stood, like a kangaroo with dragging the tail behind it up like this, and now when you see, like, then the movie Jurassic Park came out, and that was like, at the time, that was the most accurate dinosaurs ever, and they were standing more the way we think of them today, this way, horizontally. And now everything in that movie, we go, oh, it's so wrong. And so you are on the cutting edge with a lot of that with your feathered dinosaurs. And one of the things that I really absolutely love about your artwork is you're not drawing the ferocious, monstrous dinosaurs that are battling and fighting and all this. Your feathered dinosaurs are absolutely beautiful, and you can feel what's the word I'm looking for? The nature of it. It's like they look like real animals that are doing animal behaviors in the wild, relaxing in the wild, feeding in the wild, nurturing their young, chasing insects, doing all these things. And they just look like if you were, in the wild, and there they were. It's not like your typical dinosaur art that has been portrayed over there, and it's absolutely stunning. So I'm going to show some of your artwork so that the viewers can see just how beautiful they are, and your mentality of doing the feathered dinosaurs, but also how the science has changed dramatically because of the discovery of feathers. So I'm going to show this first image, and what it shows a velociraptor from the Jurassic Park movies, and then it shows a painting of, I believe this is a Utah raptor that you painted. Is that correct?
I think it's a Dakota Raptor, actually.
Okay, Dakota Raptor. All right, here we go. Let's take a look at it, and you can tell us about it. So you can see on the bottom, I guess the viewers right as well. You see blue from the Jurassic Park movies, and you see it's like a reptile. It's your typical dinosaur thinking. And then above it and to the side of it are is your painting, which is actually right over your shoulder on the wall behind you, of this Dakota Raptor. And look at the difference in it. It's absolutely stunning. Tell us a little bit about this.
Well, Dakota Raptor was one of the biggest dromaeosaurs that we know of at this point. It maybe was a little bit smaller than Utah Raptor, but it was pretty big. I mean, it would have come up to, you know, the full height of a man probably, or somewhere around there. You know, a pretty big, powerful animal. But some of the fossils that were discovered of it actually show like these little bumps along the underside of the arm. And they're apparently quill knobs. They're actually preserved quill knobs that birds sometimes also have on their bones in their arms, that are obviously serving as attachment points for these big feathers. So, you know, this animal was very heavy. I mean, it probably weighed as much as like a bear. It was obviously not flying, and yet it obviously had feathers also. So it's kind of an interesting puzzle as to what it was doing with them.
Right. And I, you know, whenever I see these feathered dinosaurs, I think of how like ostrich will run, and they use their wings to stabilize and make quick turns. Of course, these guys had tails, which would have definitely been used like a big cat to stabilize when they're chasing prey.
Yep.
So I can imagine having a tail to stabilize and a wing to stabilize like an ostrich does in a combination. Man, these things could probably make some really tight corners chasing prey. And also, you know, displays and, you know, things like mating dances and all these things that we see birds do, and also reptiles. You know, I live in Florida, and we have lizards and chameleons and anoles and geckos and everything else. And my wife and I will sit and have coffee in the morning, and all along our fence, there's I mean, my gosh, there's probably at least 20 to 30 little anole lizards, you know, and they are always constantly displaying, and they shake their heads and they rattle their necks and they put out their dewlaps and all that, and they're always displaying. And we see the birds flying around, and they do the same thing. They're always trying to impress each other, and, you know, doing mating dances and displaying. And I could see dinosaurs doing all of those things. I mean, they were animals, and they were feathered, and so it's really, really fascinating. So let's take a look at another one. Now, these next three really, this is where I get into how your artwork is so different than any of the other paleo art that I've seen recently, and what I love so much about it. And so let's take a look at this one here. And look how beautiful that is. I mean, that's just, you know, it's now tell us a little bit about this one, Emily.
This is another dromaeosaur called Akira Raptor, and it's a lot smaller than Dakota Raptor. It's closer to the size of a velociraptor or so.
Which is about what, the size of a turkey, correct?
A little bit bigger. I mean, longer, I guess.
Longer, yeah. So I would say
fairly small body size. Yeah. Yeah. So this one is from the Hell Creek Formation. So it would have possibly lived alongside Tyrannosaurus Rex and other well-known ones. But yeah, this painting was based off of the color scheme of a goshawk, a type of bird of prey, trying to go for the whole, you know, bird-like look with it.
All right, it definitely has that aspect to it, you know. And it's funny because now when you look at skeletons of these animals, you know, and again, being an older dinosaur fanatic, you know, it's like, how did nobody notice that these were bird-like animals? When we look at their skeletons and you see how much anyone out there, just go to a museum or just Google, you know, dinosaur skeletons, and you can't, it's so obvious now looking at them that they're birds, you know, other than the fact they have the long tail and teeth. They look so much like birds, and it's like, how did we not notice this until just recently in the last decade or so? So it's really, really amazing, and your paintings really bring that home, especially now knowing that they did have feathers. So here's another one that I absolutely love too. Look at that one. You know, And so, and it's funny, you'd think they could fly with those wings. It's but you see the clawed hands there, and it's absolutely amazing. So tell us about this painting.
So this is a depiction of a juvenile Deinonychus, and Deinonychus is my favorite dinosaur, probably. Deinonychus is actually responsible for the kind of increasing scientific and public understanding that at least these dinosaurs were very bird-like. And this is thanks largely to a paleontologist named John Ostrom, who described the fossils of Deinonychus in 1969. And he was absolutely just struck by how similar the skeleton was to Archaeopteryx and to modern birds as well. And he kind of posited this idea way before it was accepted that that dinosaurs were probably warm-blooded, and they probably were, we didn't really know about feathers yet, but we knew back then that they were, alert predators. They were not just, sleepy lizards. That they were, active, and it kind of opened the door to this dinosaur renaissance period where people were recognizing that dinosaurs were a lot different from, lizards and things that they were compared to before that.
Right, exactly. It's like I remember watching dinosaur movies as a child, and they would literally take alligators and iguanas and glue horns and fins on them with hot glue and stuff like that, and they would make them fight each other because PETA apparently wasn't a thing back then, and they would just say, oh, here's an alligator and iguana with horns glued to them, and let's throw them into a pit and make them fight to the death. And they would literally do that. And those were our dinosaur movies. And now it's like, because that's how we thought dinosaurs were, these reptiles that were slow moving, dumb as posts, and just not what you see here in your depictions. So here's my last one, and I got to say, this next painting is my absolute favorite. Because I tease my wife all the time, and we this is a running thing in my family. All my children know it, that when Daddy dies and goes to heaven, he will have his dinosaur farm. It's happening. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna have a ranch with dinosaurs on it in heaven. It's happening. And so there's no doubt it's gonna happen. Dinotopia is gonna be the name of my ranch. So, but let's take a look at this painting that you've done. And this is gonna happen on my farm. You watch. Look at that. It's so cute. Tell us about this one.
So this is a tiny little feathered guy called Cerakarthus that was made to accompany the first publication about this animal in 2017. And this is not quite a dromaeosaur, but it's closely related. And its defining feature that makes it so interesting is that not only were feathers preserved on the fossil, but a very particular kind of feather that was like very thin and filamentous, and probably was quite like fluffy and soft when it was alive. So the fossil had the kind of nickname Silky, like a silky chicken. And so the illustration is kind of, referencing the way that silky chickens look. And it also has feathers on its feet, like a lot of modern chickens do. Mm-hmm. And it was incredibly cute, probably, when it was alive.
Oh yeah, they were definitely like chicken coop. We're gonna have dinosaurs. Yeah. It's absolutely beautiful, and I love the you've got this you've got the effect in the artwork that it looks like the camera's focused just in the foreground. You've got great depth of field, atmospheric perspective. It's just a stunning piece of artwork. And now, when you do your artwork, what medium do you work in? Is it digital? Is it oils? Is it acrylic, gouache? What is your medium of choice?
I like to work in a variety of media. I do work a lot in digital. This one here is digital, but I also like to work in gouache. That's my favorite traditional medium. And sometimes in oil and other paints, and sometimes in pastels or other things. You know, it's good to keep some variety.
It really is. It really is. I'm a big fan of gouache myself. When I go plein air painting, gouache is my go-to there. It's a lot of fun. So when you use digital artwork, are you using Photoshop, using Procreate? What are you using?
Yeah, I use Photoshop. I've been using various versions of it since I started, pretty much, and in Wacom tablet.
Right, that's the way to go. Yeah, I've been using Photoshop since version 2 because I'm very old. Yeah.
I think I started on 7.0.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no. The one of those things. So, all right, well, just to show everybody that I am a true dinosaur fanatic. And I always tell people that, you know, growing up, I didn't have access to like paper, paper, like, white paper, because it was expensive. And so I would draw on paper grocery store bags. My mother would have them triple bag the groceries, and then she'd cut open the paper bags, and I would draw on paper grocery store bags. And so here it is, you guys. My classroom here is very excited. My viewers, here it comes. It's going to happen. But this is me at 2 years old in my underwear, drawing dinosaurs. Don't worry, don't panic. I'm only 2 when it happens. So here you go. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that glorious curly hair. That is what you call a bouffon in c'est français. That is a big bag of hair right there. And I've got my Apatosaurus, but we called it Brontosaurus back then, and I believe that's a T-Rex right there in blue. And I was drawn away and having a great time. You can even zoom in. I can zoom in. I can actually see the species. So I thought I was doing pretty good for a 2-year-old. I was pretty proud of myself. But I'm more proud of the hair than I am the dinosaur drawing. But that's that's how it is. So yeah, that's funny. So tell us a little bit, what is it like being a paleo artist? How does that work exactly? Like when you work with a paleontologist and they found a new fossil, what do they do? How do they contact you? How do they work with you? How does that work to come up with, they found a fossil, they call you on the phone, and then you have a drawing that's going in, say, I don't know, Nature magazine?
Well, usually the way it works is they just contact me and tell me that they found a dinosaur. They're writing a paper about this particular genus, and usually they send me a photograph of the fossil or whatever. And we kind of just open up a dialogue, a back and forth that sometimes goes on for quite a while. Where I'll show them some sketch ideas that I have, and they'll give me some feedback about various aspects of the anatomy and so on. Sometimes they will have already created like a skeletal diagram. A very particular kind of paleoartist makes skeletal diagrams that are extremely useful to the rest of us. And but sometimes all they have to work with is just like a kind of fragmentary fossil. So a lot of it is researching related species, because especially when a fossil is not super well preserved, one of the only ways to have a good sense of what it probably looked like when it was alive is what things it was closely related to. And so I'll read about related animals and look at their skeletons and kind of just go from there.
Sweet. So that is a that's got to be really interesting working with them. Did they ever like take you out to their dig site? Have you ever visited a dig site? I
know I haven't.
No, that would be probably, it's hot too, so in yard, so you can stay in the nice air conditioned place, and draw. So, and now when you're drawing these things, you said speculative, to me, it's like, it's not speculative in the fact that you're using science, but a lot of it, you are taking, I guess, creative liberties in some ways, because when you're working with maybe just one fossil of something, that's all you're going by, you've got to look at, you said, other dinosaurs that are similar, and there's a lot of research involved on their part to tell you, like, they would know this bone is from this particular species or a species similar to this animal, and then you got to go from there. How long does it take, the process usually take? Because you're trying to get as accurate scientifically as possible in your artwork.
Yeah. It depends. It depends on the time frame of the assignment. It sometimes depends on, just how urgent it is when the paper's coming out, or whether there's an article that I have to, meet a deadline for. But the really detailed ones I do definitely take a long time, and sometimes they take revision halfway through because of some new thing that was discovered during the actual painting itself, which has happened a couple of times.
Oh, it has? Yeah. So yeah. So what
Yeah.
kind of, give us an example of like, oops, we got to fix something, or a revision, or talk to us about that. Like, give us an example.
Well, I was working on an illustration in oil paint of a little feathered dinosaur called Anchiornis for my first book. And I had just finished it and was ready to consider it done. And almost on the same day that I was finished with that painting, a new study came out about this animal from a different specimen, where scientists had actually conducted a color study on the fossil, and they have determined that it was black and white and it had a red crest, which is a pretty amazing. So I had to repaint the animal to be consistent with that.
Oh my goodness, isn't that wild? And that's why you work digitally, folks. No, yeah, digital artwork's a little easier to change than an oil painting. So
Yeah.
especially with that much of a color difference, that really is amazing. Now, and that, boy, isn't that amazing that they can now look at a fossil and tell you what color the animal was. How they do that, I'll never know. I'm sure there's a lot of science behind it that would make my head.
Well, I can explain it a little bit if you're interested.
Ooh, please. Yeah, no, I'm geeking out. Sorry. I had a little moment. Gotta reel myself in. So go ahead, explain this to us.
All right. Well, in modern birds, the cells in the feathers themselves that actually produce pigment are called melanosomes. And it turns out that the shape of these cells is different depending on what kind of pigment family it evolved to produce.
Oh.
So, the feather cells that produce like bright red colors and stuff like that, those require a certain molecule that birds get from eating fruits and vegetables, basically carotenoids. And brown producing pigment cells are shaped differently, and stark black and stark white ones are also shaped differently. So occasionally in paleontology, we have a fossil that's well preserved enough, that is high resolution enough, that you can look at it under a microscope and actually see the fossilized pigment cells and the shape of those pigment cells. And scientists can make inferences about different colors and different parts of the body based on that.
That is absolutely fascinating. I mean, if that doesn't light your fire, your wood's wet. I mean, that is just cool. And that shows you how things have changed. They're all dying laughing. What, you never heard that line before? They're all laughing at me behind you. But the technology of paleontology has changed so dramatically that we can see those things now in fossils. And the more fossils we find, obviously you're going to find better and better and better ones. They just recently found that nodosaur that was so perfectly preserved, and the one that was upside down, and that it was like it's mummified basically, and that was just absolutely amazing. We even were able to tell what was in its stomach, what it was eating, and things like that, and its skin, and the different things like that. Now that guy didn't have no feathers though. I was a little upset, but a tank with feathers would have been a little weird, probably too. But so your favorite dinosaurs are the Deinonychus, you said.
Yeah.
So and we know that because your email actually has the word Deinonychus in it, which I thought was just adorable. But are there any other dinosaurs? What's your second favorite dinosaur? That's a big question that we gotta know.
Second favorite would be Microraptor, probably.
I love Microraptor.
Yeah.
Now they're really laughing at me. Yeah, Microraptor. Tell us about a Microraptor. Have you ever painted a Microraptor?
Many times, actually.
Oh, great. I should have grabbed one. That's one of my favorites. So tell us a little bit what makes Microraptor so special.
A lot of things. It was about the size of a pigeon, so it's another very small one. Really long tail. it had 4 wings, actually. So it had, not only did it have asymmetrical flight feathers on its hands, but also on its feet and its legs. So it might have glided through the air like a kind of like a biplane, or something like that. It's also another one that we've had a color study on, and Microraptor has been found to be probably iridescent when it was alive. That it was mostly black across the whole body, but certain melanosomes in the fossil show that it would have been like shiny, iridescent, like modern crows or grackles or other shiny blackbirds.
Right, and that is a very, and I had known about the Microraptor. I did a series of paintings years ago in an exhibit called Angelology, and one of the paintings was about the seraphim angel, and it had 6 wings, and so I actually used the Microraptor as a base on that, because if that creature had 4 wings, I'm like, well, just add 2 more and there you go. And so that's what I did. And but yeah, Microraptor is a really, really cool animal, that it had basically its legs had wings on them, and so it just flew around with 4 wings. That is just the coolest thing. A little tiny little bird. I'm gonna have one of those on my farm, I promise you that. And he's gonna sit right there. He's gonna be right there all the time. It's happening. It's happening. Yeah, he might chew my ear off, but it'll be worth it, So, but so that's your second favorite is Microraptor. That's really good. I'd have to say when I was growing up, I was a huge Strachosaurus fan. I loved the frilled dinosaur with all the wah. It was just, that was my favorite growing up. That was my favorite. Yeah. Absolutely drew him all the time. So. Well, this is really good. Let's talk a little bit more about, talk about your, what kind of education does somebody need to have to be a paleo artist? I mean, do you have to have a scientific education as well as an art education? Talk to us a little bit about how you become a paleo artist, for those that may be watching going, this is something I want to do.
Yeah. Opinions vary on this, but I'll say that I don't really think a formal education is necessary to be a good and prolific paleoartist. I think having a scientific background probably helps somewhat. My undergraduate degree is in biology, and I found that to be somewhat useful for getting into paleoart, just because learning how to read scientific papers and how to extract the right information about how the fossil is described is important, I think. But I don't know. I don't feel like a formal art education is required. If you practice a lot and get feedback from other artists and stuff, you can learn how to paint.
Right. So basically, more of an art education, probably to be a paleo artist, would be probably more helpful than, say, a scientific background, or.
I think it depends on the individual and what the individual's strengths are, and what things they need more structure and learning and stuff, I think.
Right. Now, there's quite a bit of a community of paleo artists that is growing online quite a bit, and they have clubs and Facebook groups and things like that. Are you a part of any organization for that, or do you have your little group of inside friends that are in the industry, or?
Yeah, I participate in all the Facebook groups and stuff on paleoart, at least now and then. I'm not aware of there being any formal organization. Maybe there is, and I'm not aware of it. But yeah, there are a lot of communities online to hang out with professionals and get feedback. And there are so many talented amateurs nowadays who are posting their art for the first time in some of these groups, and it's like, wow, this is like a 14-year-old. He is so talented. It's like that's the internet allows people from all over the world to share their paleo art and learn from professionals. It's pretty cool.
Right. Exactly. So, what was there a particular person that helped you get into this industry? Or did you have a mentor? Did you have somebody that kind of brought you in, or did just a paleontologist talk to you? What was your break-in moment to start doing paleo art?
Well, I started posting my paleo art when I was maybe 18 or so on the internet, or 17 or so. And one of those pieces actually got picked up by a book, a scholastic book for kids.
Oh, wow.
And that was kind of the moment when I realized that I could actually be a professional at this if I wanted to. And that was very inspiring, just being kind of randomly picked up by Scholastic. But I have had a lot of individual paleoartists who've really helped me and kind of opened doors for me. Mark Witten, for example, and Julius Sotoni have both been really instrumental in helping me get more exposure and recommending me for jobs that, you know, maybe they were asked to do and didn't have time for or whatever. So I try to pass that along to other young people in the community.
Right. The beautiful referral system that's really good. You know, I always say that you know, relationships are the highest form of currency. You know, and when you know people, that we help each other out, and we share and we collaborate, and that'll get you further than anything, really. So, well, I'm trying to think. Do we have any questions from the class here? Anybody want to ask Emily a question? They're all staring at me blankly in death fear. Well, yes.
How many dinosaurs that we have found and supposed had 4, feet are not really 4-footed, but 2-limbed, really, and just have wings instead of the front feet?
Okay,
so a lot more of those out there.
I think you're asking how many dinosaurs have feathers.
Yeah, they're totally different from like you showed with the Jurassic Park. It had 4 feet, but she shows that they had wings.
Right. Now their front limbs just had feathers on them. Like if you took the feathers off a chicken, it would have front legs too. You know, they don't have claws on them. You know,
a lot more of that going on than we thought originally.
So that's her question. Is she's asking, you know, there's a lot more of dinosaurs like that, the way you're describing and the way that you draw and paint your dinosaurs. There's a lot more. The science is showing that most dinosaurs, the theropod dinosaurs like that, and the dromaeosaurs especially, were winged, basically. Now, not flight wings, but they had feathers on their front.
Well, a lot of the bigger ones especially probably didn't have actual wings. So a wing, you could kind of loosely define a wing as some kind of like veined feather that comes off of the hand, right? But that seems to be kind of a unique condition to Maniraptoran dinosaurs. So, not just dromaeosaurs, but also like Oviraptorosaurs. You might have heard of Oviraptor. And Therizinosaurs, these like huge hulking things. Some of them probably had some kind of a wing thing, but when you go back further in time or further down the evolutionary tree, you'll find a lot of dinosaurs were just kind of fluffy. They had feathers that were more like fur, and just kind of proto feathers or things like that. And so a lot of them probably didn't really have any long feathers on the hands. They were just covered in kind of these filaments.
So they looked fluffy.
Yeah.
So yeah. So just like a big like they were put in a dryer, you know, like when your cat comes out of the dryer sometimes, you know, he looks like, not that I would put my cat in a dryer, but you know, you get the joke, you know, it's like poof. So
what we thought had plates on them don't have plates, but they had feathers rather than plates.
No, not necessarily. She was asking about like dinosaurs with plates. They still have plates. Yeah, the different species look different, but there were certain species that we know for a fact had feathers, and there are a lot that didn't. So do you work primarily with the feathered dinosaurs, or do you sometimes render dinosaurs like, say, a ceratopsian, like a triceratops or an ankylosaur or something like that?
I do occasionally. My specialty is definitely feathered dinosaurs, and I enjoy it most. I think I'm best at it, but I do sometimes draw other kinds of dinosaurs. In this book that I'm working on right now for Crowwood, I'm having to draw more of a broad representation of dinosaurs. So I do have some in the works of various unfeathered and unrelated groups.
Right. Now, one of the things I really, really enjoyed about your artwork is that your dinosaurs, and mind you, having feathers on them helps with this. But a lot of times, one of the things that paleo art has been accused of is just putting skin over the bones.
Yeah.
Whereas, so the animals don't look like they have fat or muscle under it. It's just they just basically take the skeleton and they draw over it, and that's what they look like. But animals in real life don't look like that. There's a lot of meat, and especially birds. Birds have like weird heads, and they got like a chicken that's got the big thing on top of his head, and and the googly. I don't even know what those things are called under their necks, or like a turkey. If you had a skeleton, if all you ever saw was a skeleton of, say, a turkey, you would never guess that they looked like that.
Yeah.
And so you have to use your imagination quite a bit when you're doing this type of artwork. Talk to us a little bit about, like, where do you draw the line between, imagination and speculation and science and making a final image? How do you make those decisions?
Yeah, that's a
tough call.
That's a really good question. And that's another thing where I think you could ask 100 different paleoartists and get 100 different answers. But, well, I would say that in general, speculation is going to make your art more interesting. And as long as it's kept within kind of the realm of possibility, I don't really see a problem with it. So a lot of the time with paleo art, you'll know certain things about a species for sure, and there will be a large area of that animal's appearance and behavior and lifestyle that is pretty much unknown. And so when people have like new ideas for how they might have looked that does not contradict known evidence, then I usually think that that's fine, and it keeps the field kind of invigorated and interesting. And we definitely have moved through this period of paleo art where this kind of reasoned speculation was very popular. It's nowadays we call it the all yesterdays movement, which was the name of a book that was published by a few paleoartists and paleontologists that kind of made this idea a little bit famous, I guess, that if as long as it doesn't contradict the data, there's no reason not to depict like a Deinonychus with these huge turkey wattles or whatever. So a lot of people will disagree on what counts as reasonable speculation. And, opinions vary wildly on that. But in general, I think it's a good thing.
Well, cool. Yeah. And because I remember, there was for a while there were some paleontologists that were like, they were all like, T-Rex probably wasn't a hunter. He was more of a scavenger.
Oh, yeah.
And that was a big one that they were all talking about for a while. And so depictions of a Tyrannosaurus Rex changed to make him look more like a turkey vulture, where his head would be all red and with all the little googly things, and like a turkey vulture's head. And it was quite fascinating. And then they went back, and then it shifted back to, ferocious, T-Rex scary and all this, and things changed again. Most recently, all over the news, it was on all the big networks. We're talking about the Spinosaurus, which was made famous in Jurassic Park 3, I believe. And it was the one that fought the T-Rex and killed the T-Rex. And it was this long thing. It had like an alligator snout. It had the big sail on its back, and it was in the water and it was chasing. It was so scary and all this. And yeah, my wife will not watch any Jurassic Park movies because it scares the bejeebies out of her. And me and the boy are like, but it's Jurassic Park. And she's like, no. So she's as scared of dinosaurs as I am of zombie movies. I won't do it. But anyway, the Spinosaurus came out recently in the news, and they were like, they had discovered that its tail was very tall and broad, so that it would have been a very, very, very more aquatic type of a dinosaur. And the depictions of Spinosaur from like in the 80s and 90s, it looked like a T-Rex with a spine and an alligator's head or a crocodile head.
Yeah.
and then it changed again, and it changed again. But recently, when you look up Spinosaurus, it has these, like, the front legs are kind of stubby, and it's more horizontal, and it's almost 100% aquatic, and it's changed where you barely recognize it from the artwork in the past. And so that has changed in so many ways, on not only the science, but in the way that the artists depict the creature. So that's really what you're talking about, I think, right now. You gotta take those, you gotta work down that road and figure it out, and that can be really challenging.
Yeah, Spinosaurus is a good example of how challenging it can be, because the one reason that Spinosaurus's appearance has changed so much is we've never had a good, fully complete specimen that clearly represented only one individual. We had a great Spinosaurus specimen that was destroyed in World War II.
Right.
And so all of the other specimens that we have are kind of aggregate from probably from multiple individuals, which may have varied wildly in size. And so I suspect that the depictions of Spinosaurus are going to continue changing, probably quite substantially. And there are some dinosaurs like that, where we don't really have a good idea of what they look like. And they're definitely going to look different in 10 years than they do now, for sure.
Right. Right. And that's one of the amazing things about the field is, and that's really your job in the field, is to figure out what they look like in life. And so it's quite fascinating. Now they can find you on emilywilloughby.com. There's your website again. And on your website, you have your paleo art, but you also have photography that you've done. You've got some artwork on birds, and then you also have some medical or scientific artwork as well, because you also do scientific illustration as well. So tell us real quickly about that. How does that work?
Well, the scientific illustration I've done recently, at least, is primarily for my work in behavior genetics. So I've done some illustrations of diagrams of synaptic communication and the proteins that form the machinery inside of our neurons and so on. So that's on my website also.
Oh, wow. That's very impressive. That's like, man, that's, she's drawing neurons. I don't even know how that works, but I'm going to check that out, because I always like to look at, different artists' websites and the way they depict their art. And so it has been absolutely just a really, really great time looking at your website. Now, this book that you're writing, when is that, do you think, is going to come out?
Well, I'm supposed to have it basically finished by the end of January. So I don't even know what a typical publication cycle is. I'm guessing maybe late 2021-ish, somewhere around there.
Wait, now, and it's a book about how to draw dinosaurs?
Yep. It's called Drawing and Painting Dinosaurs.
Oh, that's going to be fun. Now, what's the publisher of that?
That's Crowwood Press.
Okay, great. We definitely I'm going to be looking for that one. That one's going to be really, really good. So what kind of dinosaurs are you going to teach us to draw and paint? That's the big question.
Yeah, the majority of it is going to be more about like the kind of principles of paleoart and how to gather sources, how to interpret sources, how to, interpret evolutionary relationships, how to interpret skeletal anatomy and muscular anatomy, and all of that stuff. But I will have some sections on drawing dromaeosaurs like Deinonychus, and I'll have a section on drawing T-Rex, because everyone loves T-Rex. And
a dinosaur book without T-Rex.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a law. I'm not sure. Is it a law?
I think it might be. Yeah, it's on the book. Yeah, and then also I'll have some on sauropods, the big long necked ones.
Yes.
And some ceratopsians. Like, actually, I have a Styracosaurus that's going in. So.
That's my favorite. That's right. When y'all meet me in heaven, I'm going to be riding one of those to meet you. It's going to happen. I am going to go full Dinotopia on you. So it's going to happen. So, well, I'm a big James Gurney fan. In case you, know, I'm sure you are as well.
He's been another big influence for me.
Yeah,
And,
he's really
great. He's a really nice person too.
Yeah, he really is. I wanted one day I'm going to get him on the show. He actually doesn't have internet access at his house, so
lucky him.
he lives way out in the boonies apparently. Yeah, no. So if you haven't seen Dinotopia's book, you need to check those books out. They're amazing pieces of artwork. But so when you're doing paleo art, real quick, just a couple more quick questions. You know, how do you, like, you must have to learn quite a bit on like anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how the muscles attach to bones and things like that, and that will inform how you draw and paint these animals. Now, for you, using you know, you're painting feathered dinosaurs. How much time do you spend studying bird anatomy, as an example?
I have spent a lot of time on bird anatomy. I'm also like a big hobbyist bird fanatic, bird photographer. I love birding and, you know, doing checklists and stuff like that. So I've spent a lot of time observing birds in the field and taking pictures of them. And the pictures are very useful for reference sometimes. But it's important not to make dinosaurs too bird-like, which some people also kind of go overboard on doing that, because there are a lot of things about dromaeosaur anatomy that are very unique and distinct and cannot really be referenced easily from birds. But birds definitely help in a lot of ways.
Right, exactly. So that, yeah, when you're drawing feathers, but then if they have proto feathers, what does that look like? And, you know, so I can see how you got to use a lot of reference materials, a lot of science, a lot of studying to go into one image. So when you're painting an image, it's not less, there's that beautiful combination of, you got to have like scientific knowledge, reference images, but also imagination and speculative. You know, you got to take some creative liberties, I guess.
Yeah.
But I got to tell you, I'm so excited that you came on the show, Emily. This was a great conversation. I geeked out a lot, and I can't wait. Yeah, they're all laughing at me. My class is laughing at me behind you. It's because they love me, and that's why. But you know, it's just again, I've always wanted to have a paleo artist on the show. I definitely want to stay in touch with you and talk to you again when the book comes out. I want to have you back on the show so that you can talk about the book, and we can promote that with you, and I can look at it, and because I'm going to buy that book. You know, I'm buying that book. Right, I'll be first in line when it happens. I'm buying that book, so I'm going to buy 2 or 3. That's right, because I'll wear the first one out. But well, Emily, thank you so much for coming on the show. We appreciate it very much. And again, guys, if you're interested in checking out her artwork and learning more about Emily, go to emilywilloughby.com, and that will be something that you will absolutely appreciate. So, Emily, thank you for coming on. Stay on the line. I'm going to say goodbye to the audience, and then we will talk with you here real briefly.
All right, great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Well, everybody, there we go. Emily Willoughby. That was a really cool show, and I was geeking out. I'm not gonna lie, it was it was exciting. I mean, I was talking to a paleo artist. I was like, it was like I almost exploded like 5 or 6 times. So it you know, it is what it is. I'm not ashamed. And it was just, wasn't that cool? And her art was so beautiful. I mean, my gosh, I absolutely loved her artwork. Isn't it amazing that what you can do with digital, you know, Photoshop nowadays? She's painting these in Photoshop, a lot of them, and some of them she said oils and gouache and traditional media, but digital art has really skyrocketed. You know, I remember when Microsoft Paint came out. Remember Microsoft Paint? Yeah, us old guys, we know about Microsoft Paint. It was like you'd color 1 pixel like that, and you know, and now the art, you'd swear it was an oil painting. You can't really tell the difference, or you'd swear it was a photo. And that's the amazing thing about digital art. And so she's using digital art plus traditional media, and she's doing a great job. So check her out. And so, guys, with that said, don't forget, you know, if you like what we do here at the Gagnon Atelier, check us out on our YouTube channel. And our YouTube channel is still pretty new, but it is growing, and we have every Modern Masters episode We've got almost 50 episodes that you can watch with absolutely the top artists in the world today being interviewed from various genres of art, from non-representational artists, abstract artists, portrait artists, figurative artists, now a paleo artist, and I know, and everything in between. So check us out by doing a search. Just go on Facebook or go on YouTube and search Gagnon Atelier, and you'll find our site, and you can hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and then that way you can know everything that's going on there. So with that said, guys, I just want to say thank you very much. And just remember, God loves you. So does your old pal, Tim. We'll talk to you next time.